Selena Gomez desperately needed a break after a whirlwind tour that left her exhausted. She found the perfect escape, a rustic cabin nestled deep in a forest, miles away from the relentless flashes of paparazzi cameras and the roar of the crowd. It was supposed to be a sanctuary, but the locals knew something she didn't. Don't stay past sundown on Halloween, one old woman had whispered at the market, her eyes wide with a fear Selena mistook for simple superstition. She arrived at the cabin just after noon. The air was crisp and cold, and the ancient trees seemed to press in on the little house, their branches like skeletal fingers. Inside, it was charming and quaint, except for one unsettling detail, a small, cracked mirror hanging above the fireplace. It was framed in dark, gnarled wood, and the edges were covered in what looked disturbingly like tiny bite marks. As she began to unpack, the strangeness started. Her phone, her only link to the outside world, would glitch and restart for no reason. The lights flickered on the hour every hour with unnerving precision, and then at exactly 7 p.m. she heard it. A faint, childish giggle from the darkest corner of the living room. She spun around, her heart pounding, but saw nothing. Just shadows. She tried to laugh it off, blaming it on exhaustion. That was her first mistake. Her second was looking back at the mirror. Her own reflection smiled back at her, even though her own lips were set in a firm line. It was just a twitch at first, a barely perceptible smirk. But as she stared, frozen in place, her reflection's eyes slowly shifted, darkening and widening into black pits. And then it grinned. An impossibly wide, predatory grin that stretched its face into a grotesque mask. Selena stumbled back, gasping. That's when it giggled again. Not in her voice, but in a high-pitched sing-song tone that curdled her blood. From the murky depths behind her reflection, a figure began to emerge. It was small and hunched, with matted yellowing fur, monstrous teeth, and long, unmistakable ears. Its eyes were wild, and its smile looked like it had been permanently stitched onto its face. It was Labubu, leaning forward from inside the glass. It whispered in a raspy voice, "Let's play." Terror gave her strength. Selena grabbed the heavy iron poker from the fireplace and swung with all her might. The mirror shattered, exploding in a shower of glass. But the shards never hit the floor. Instead, a thick black smoke poured out of the broken frame, swirling and pulsing like a living thing. The smoke solidified, and Labubu stepped out of the mirror, now life-sized and terrifyingly real. Selena ran. She burst out the door and into the pitch-black forest, her lungs burning, branches clawing at her face and arms. Behind her, the giggles echoed, seeming to come from every direction at once. No matter how fast or how far she ran, she could hear it, sometimes sounding like it was right behind her, other times chillingly ahead. She tripped on a root and crashed to the forest floor, landing near an old gnarled tree. Carved into its bark was a strange symbol, a perfect circle made of teeth. Suddenly, everything went silent. The wind died. The forest held its breath. The giggling stopped. And then a whisper right beside her ear in her own voice. "You should have left at sundown." She scrambled to her feet and looked around. Nothing. But then she saw it. Every tree in the clearing was now adorned with mirrors, hanging from their branches like morbid ornaments. They were all cracked, and every single one reflected her. But they weren't her. In one, she was weeping silently. In another, she was screaming, her face contorted in agony. One reflection was completely still, except for its twitching, bloodshot eyes. And in every single mirror, standing just behind her, was Labubu, smiling that Sonan smile. She tried to run again, but her legs felt like they were made of lead, sinking into the soft earth. The trees bent lower, their branches groaning like breaking bones. From the soil, dozens of tiny, furry hands erupted, grabbing at her ankles, holding her fast. Labubu appeared before her one last time, holding a final, cracked piece of the mirror. "Your smile doesn't belong to you anymore," it cooed, holding the shard up to her face. She watched in pure horror as her reflection reached up and with slow, deliberate movements peeled its own face off, handing it to Labubu like a precious gift. Selena opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The forest had stolen her voice. Weeks later, when the search parties finally found the cabin, it was empty, covered in a thick layer of dust, as if it had been abandoned for years. Everything was gone, except for a single, pristine mirror hanging above the fireplace. And if you looked closely, you could see a woman trapped inside the glass, smiling. Always smiling. And standing right behind her, a small, furry creature with long ears, forever ready to play. Thanks for watching this spooky story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more chills. Stay safe out there and maybe think twice before renting a cabin in the woods.